Hi, amigos. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Lima, Peru. My name is Vanessa Vasquez. I am your Lima City guide. And today I have prepared something special from home. These days, Peru still experience a very tough, very strong sanitation, let's say, restrictions related with COVID-19. So this year, we are not going to have events in the streets, events in the cities for the carnival. But this year, I wanted to bring the Carnival of Peru to you virtually using some video recordings, some interesting information that I have here in my home to share with you the spirits of the Carnival in Peru. And also we're going to focus especially in the festivity of the Vendimia. The Vendimia, or the Festival of the Grape Harvest, is celebrated every March, beginning of March. The first week of March is when we have this celebration. So we celebrate a very long festivity, which starts at the end of January, usually at the beginning of the Black Summer. That's the way how we call it in Peru, Verano Negro. And it continues during February with the Carnival, and then also concludes with the first week of March and the celebrations of the Festival of the Grape Harvest. So thanks for your participation. Oh, Sam, hola. Thank you, thank you. I enjoy Argentina so much. You have no idea how much I love Argentina. And also I am preparing a series of conferences from my home, starting actually next month, about the experience in Argentina and all the things I was able to see there. For example, glaciers. I also was able to cross to Chile, so I saw glaciers in Chile, glaciers in Argentina. I was able to see whales, penguins, so many different beautiful animals, natural places. So if you can, please check out my Heigo channel. And I have a special event program for the first part of my trip that is called the Chilean Patagonia. So that is going to be the first part of that series. So I hope you can come, Sam, you all, by the way, my friends. So in that way you can learn about the off the beaten destinations of Chile and also Argentina. So I hope you enjoyed today's event. My friends Sayuri and Renan are today going to be doing some really nice street activities in different parts of South America. Renan is in Oruro, in the Andes of Bolivia. I hope you've been able to see his event also from the streets. It is fantastic seeing that in some parts of South America there are already events in the street, like open air events. Peru is still very, very sort of like distant from events like this, big events like this, for now, because we are trying to control the spread out of COVID. We are one of the countries that has few countries in Latin America that has been very tough in terms of regulations. But I want to share with you the ideas, the feelings that we have about the carnivals in Peru. And today's event is going to be from my home, as you know, but I'm going to be using some slideshows and also some videos. So let me know if you are ready to learn about the Festival of the Grape Harvest. And also, if you have a question, please use the comment section. If you have a question like for me, for the tour, like during I am doing this event, please try to use a Q at the beginning of the question so I know the question is going directly to me, because I know sometimes people are chatting and conversing in the section of the comments, which is okay. I have no problem about that, just to pay attention to the questions. Muchas gracias, Sam. Thanks so much for being here today. Thanks to you all that are here trying to understand a little bit more about the festivities related with the carnival in Peru, and also the festival of the grape harvest of Peru, which is called Vendimia. So we are going first to play some music. And by the way, maybe you've noticed that I have here this scarf in my head. Is not the usual look of Vanessa when I do tours in the street, but the reason I'm using this today is because it is a tradition that for the let's say the Afro-Peruvian descendants, when they are dancing the music we call festejo, the ladies use this fabric in their head, and usually with very beautiful, colorful earrings, and they dance this music that we call festejo, which is the one you are hearing in the background. So let's start with the explanation of today. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the Grape Harvest Festival of Peru, which is called Vendimia. In this moment, my friends Sayuri and Renan are preparing for a series of festivals and carnivals tours that they're going to be conducting in a while. Actually, I invite you to join them later to their tours. And I wanted to participate also of this event because although Peru, we are not having in this moment these street events, the Vendimia is one of the most important parties related with the Afro-descendancy in this country. So the Vendimia, this celebration that takes place the first week of March, is related with the time when we pick up the grapes for the production of the wine and pisco. So this is Peru. Peru is divided in 24 big departments. We have departments that are also subdivided in provinces. And the zone we're going to focus about is basically the section we call Ica. So this is the department of Ica. You can see here Ica is also subdivided in 5 provinces, and all of these 5 provinces were in the colonial times recipients of black immigrants, this forced immigration of Africans, the slavery that also changed completely the course of the history of Peru, because Peru was a zone that was conquered by Spanish, by conquistadors. The Spanish conquistadors, they did not intentionally wanted to melt the African culture in this territory. They just wanted the Spanish culture to prevail, the Spanish religion to prevail. Well, in the reality, it didn't happen that way. So the territories that received most of the slaves were here, the coast of Peru. Lima, by the way, is located over here. So, but we're going to talk about this example, the history of the department of Ica, and especially we're going to focus in the territories of Chincha and Nazca, just briefly, because we're going to talk about 2 interesting examples of the hacienda houses, which were the zones where the slaves were received, and this situation of these places becoming recipients of slaves from different parts of Africa, especially from Angola, also impulse what is nowadays the Afro-Peruvian tradition and culture. So Some interesting details I would like to share with you before we go to the videos is, first of all, that those territories I mentioned were dedicated to the production of cotton, sugarcane, specifically, of course, for production of sugar and honey, and also grapes for the production of wine and pisco. Does anyone here in the group knows what is pisco? Let me know, please, in the comment section if you know what is pisco. So I'm going to come back to this product in a little while. So the ethnicities of the Africans who were introduced to these territories in the 16th and 17th century especially were mainly from Angola. We had Congos also, Terranovos, and some of the ethnicities of the men and women from Africa who were taken into the coast of Peru are not really very clear. For example, when we talk about the Chalas, so this is not a region in particular in Africa, but a Chala is a Quechua word for the coast, referring to the coast. So this ethnic group, we don't know actually exactly where they came from, but they received the name given by indigenous people to the people from the coast, the Chala. So also another thing interesting is that Vendimia, which is the festivity we are going to talk about today, here the Vendimia of Peru, which is the grape harvest, is actually a festivity celebrated in the old world by the Greeks and Romans. So the Vendimia was not invented in Peru. So this was a tradition that came with the Spaniards. But in the pre-Hispanic Peru, the indigenous cultures also celebrated festivities connected with the harvest of the products given to them by Pachamama, by Mother Earth. So, for example, the corn and the potatoes. So let's talk about two examples of hacienda houses of Peru, of the department of Ica, in which they became pots where the culture, the Afro-Peruvian culture emerged, was cooked, right? And as I said before, it was not an intentional assimilation of the African culture, but it happened eventually. And it happened because the African people that went into those hacienda houses eventually mixed also with the indigenous people culturally, also ethnically, and they produced children of the mixing of the cultures. But also eventually the white descendants mix with these African descendants, and they produce what we call mulattos. So this is the image of the Hacienda San Jose, which is located in Ica, in the department of Ica, in the province of Chincha. Thank you, Sam. What is hacienda? So hacienda is a very, very particular word we use in Latin America to describe houses, countryside houses, which used to be also inhabited by wealthy, rich families for prolonged periods of time. And these were families that administrated big extents of territory. So these haciendas were luxurious because these were very rich families that wanted to live with all the wealth they could, the comfort they could, for sort of like mansions, but countryside mansions, Sam. So these were houses also where there were galpones or slaves' houses. So these houses, which were apart from the house, were places where the slaves were put and where they lived, right? In a complete contrast of the reality of the landowner. So in the case of the Hacienda San Jose, Sam, thank you for your questions. In the Hacienda San Jose, we had initially in the 17th century, a family, a rich Spanish family who purchased the territory, the land, and they acquired initially 87 slaves. So where the slaves lived, they of course did not live in the house. This is the house. This is the chapel. Remember that these houses were far, far, far away of any towns, so they needed to have their own chapel. And the slaves lived around, but these entrances you see over here were the places where the slaves were punished. These are the dungeons of the house. By the way, the Hacienda San Jose is nowadays a hotel. But the Spanish, let's say, civilians were not the only ones who own slaves. This might be surprising to you all, my friends, but the church is the institution that owned the biggest number of slaves. And one of those cases is, of course, the case of the Jesuits, the Jesuit order, as well as the Franciscans, Dominicans, Mercedarians, Augustinians. The Jesuits became one of the biggest religious orders in Peru, and they acquire lots of slaves. For example, we have in this list from the year when the Jesuits were expelled from Peru and from the Spanish territories, 1767, the huge number actually of slaves in the territories in question, the ones that are mentioning, Cañete, Chincha, Pisco, we have 1,849 slaves only in this territory. Being in some other parts of Peru, also huge numbers, but the biggest number of them was in this territory in question, and almost reaching 5,000 slaves. So the church owned a big amount of slaves. But the power of the church was such that, nobody really considered this to be bad. Also, the church treated in a mild way the slaves. They were not as mean as the civilians that owned slaves. And also the church educated them in a religious manner, of course. No? So the idea of the church was evangelizing them. And these are the galpones. Look at the complete contrast of the situation of the slaves versus the landowners, right? So these are galpones, the houses of the slaves. And in these places, in these humble homes, is where they live, they coexist with others. So what kinds of entertainments these people had? They had almost none entertainment. They work from the rising of the sun until the setting of the sun. It was extremely complicated for them, of course, to have to find entertainments. The church, in a way, in a merciful way, to help the slaves, they created several religious festivities. The religious festivities were the ones that, of course, the church created around saints, martyrs of the church, events related with the church, right? And in those events, the slaves could not work. Nobody could work. Also, because the landowner couldn't work, their slaves couldn't. So that's why, the church, in a merciful way to give them some resting times to the slaves, they created these events. The most important, of course, for the slaves was the period of the carnivals, because the carnivals, not just here in the coast of Peru, also in the Andes, even in the jungle also, was a period, of course, of the Quaresma, before the Quaresma, the 40 days before the moment related with Easter, right? So this is a period where you could dance, you could celebrate. This was the last moment when people could celebrate before sort of like preparing for the Easter time. Hola, Nicolas. Thanks for coming. No worries at all. So, and by the way, why these slaves, were so important for their landowners? You know already that Pisco was a very important product produced here. But nobody answered, what is pisco? Maybe you don't know what is pisco. Pisco is a brandy. It's a brandy that is also very important for Peru nowadays. Is one of the most important Peruvian products of exportation. And the vendimia, the festivity we are going to talk about, was connected with the harvest of the grapes for the production of the pisco and wine, of course. Pisco is a brandy that was created in Peru in the colonial times. Is a brandy from Peru that departed from the port of Pisco. Pisco is in the department of Ica. And in Europe, it was received, in Spain was received as the brandy from Pisco. Eventually, the brandy took the name of Pisco. So there are different varieties of grapes that we produce in that territory, and the pisco, which is this very important product of exportation, still is produced in some parts of the south coast of Peru in an artisanal way, in the way the slaves used to prepare them. Hola, Nicolas. Bebo pisco, vino y no pisco. Okay, muy bien. But you have to try the pisco if you can, Nicolas. It's very strong, by the way. 42% of alcohol in average is very, very strong. In here we have a picture related with the vendimia, which is the party in question of today's event. And you can see that this is the way how traditionally the black slaves used to extract the juice of the grapes. It was a very, very hard work, and I'm going to be showing you some videos about this festivity just in a little while, but this is just a let's say a frame, a historic frame for you to understand what is the festivity we are going to be explaining and seeing in a little moment. So, by the way, piscos or pisco in the pre-Hispanic times, it was a word used to describe, for example, birds. A pisco was a bird. Eventually, when the Spaniards started to produce the pisco, the brandy, they needed to store this liquid, this brandy, in containers. So the only way to do it properly and using products that were local from the coast was creating these ceramic sort of like vessels made from clay. And the form of the vessel looks like having like a little beak. Can you see here this little like bottom part? So because it looks like a beak, it was started to be called pisco. Pisco, like the way how the indigenous used to call the birds, because it looked like a beak. The bottom part that was used like in this form, in this shape also, for, let's say, moving better the product inside the container and permitting a better fermentation process, also to standing better in the soil the vessels. We are once again talking about the south of Peru. For those that were not able to see the first part of the presentation, the south part of Peru, the south coast of Peru, is the one that received the bigger amount of slaves. Most of them work for hacienda houses, for these mansions and these land like fields, plantation fields, and most of these plantation fields belong to civilians, although many of those belong to religious orders. Also, if you would like, before we pass to the part of the videos, if you would like to know a little bit more about what I do here in Lima, you can take a picture of this information. This is my Facebook group, my Instagram, my YouTube channel, all my information. And please don't forget that later we're going to continue with this event in Brazil and also in Bolivia. So this is part of a Carnival Morola Sayuri, a part of let's say, of an event that we were doing in collaboration here in Latin America, related with the carnivals, the way how we celebrate carnivals in Latin America. So now I want to also go to some videos that I have prepared for you. and they are videos about the vendimia. So let me now go to the videos, and thank you so much for your participation, my friends. It really means a lot to me that you are here, although, well, I am not able today to stream from the streets because we don't have any festivities in the streets as my friends in Latin America are doing, but I wanted to collaborate also with a little bit of what Peru is doing in these festivities, and hopefully next year I'm going to be able to take you there also on a virtual tour. Gracias, Marilyn. Thanks for your tip support. So now I think we can start with the videos I have selected for you. And this is, first of all, a preliminary video about how the Carnaval Negro, the Black Carnival, takes place in the south coast of Peru. We have all kinds of activities, including choosing the princess of the carnival, including, for example, culinary festivals, children, adults playing the Peruvian box, dancing. The carnival, the Black Carnival, it starts in February, beginnings of February, in Ica, especially, which is the zone where most of the Afro-descendants live nowadays in Peru. And it continues or finishes in the Vendimia, which is the first week of March. And that is also the time before children go to school. So this is, let's say, a little, compilation of some images related with this festival, and we call this time of the year in the south of Peru the Black Summer, Verano Negro. And well, this compilation gives you just little clips. Afro-Peruvians, Nicolas, is the way how we call to the Afro-descendants, descendants of the African slaves that still live in community in the south coast of Peru, where we had like thousands of slaves brought to work in plantation fields, to work picking up the cotton, harvesting the grapes, also producing the sugar cane, syrup, the honey. So in the next video, we're going also to do a little stop. So this is the introduction to the Carnaval Negro. And Carnaval Negro is also, culturally talking, is the closest the celebration we have to understand how the Afro-descendants, the slaves, used to also celebrate their festivities in the colonial times. Remember that it was the only period of the year when the slaves could relax, could enjoy, because the carnival is the preparation for the Easter. Also, after the period of the carnival, they nobody actually could drink as a respect for the Easter. It was the tradition back then. So it was the last chance to celebrate your body, their flesh, right? So next video, and let me show you, this is about the vendimia, and it is about the harvesting of the grapes. So there were Christians. Good question, Sam. Originally, the church did not really care about the souls of the African people. They even did not believe the African slaves had any soul to be saved. But later on, the church started to feel more connected with their slaves. They considered it was necessary to educate them, although they believed them to be inferior, as well as the indigenous. The indigenous were considered to be mentally deficient and not like bound to the white people as minor brothers. Also, these indigenous were minor brothers because they were not spiritually, mentally developed as the white people. So, but still the church tried to educate them. So that's why they taught them the catechesis, they taught them the ways of the church. Later on, the Africans, the African descendants, now Peruvians, of course, they embraced the Catholic faith, and they also made many of the saints of the Spaniards their saints. So most of these festivities are extremely religious. They are all about the faith. So here we have a documentary also about how traditionally the grape, the harvest of the grapes, and basically, sorry for, of course, the app. So this is how traditionally the stepping of the grapes used to be done. Colgate, yes, everywhere around the world, Nicholas. So, and this is the way how even nowadays the production of the wine and the pisco is done artisanally, although many of the most famous brands of pisco and wine do it now in with machineries, not in this way, which is very sad because we are losing that tradition. So stepping over the grapes, of course, back then in the old days, made possible the extraction of the juice that eventually became the wine. But this gentleman is explaining to the reporter that the dancers that were for hours and hours like stepping over these grapes, they were drinking a juice that is not actually wine. It was very, very sweet. And it is also a combination of the juice of the just extraction of the stepping, right? The juice of the grape, a mix with a little dash of pisco, the brandy, lemon, cinnamon, and that's it. This is what they call the Chingurito, and it's very sweet, very energetic, and that kept them on and on dancing. So this was the way how these people were able to step over these grapes for hours and hours without getting drunk completely, but this juice was very, very sweet. So this was the trick they used. And now I want to also share another short video, and this video, let me share it with you, is about also the inauguration moment of the Vendimia, which happens at the beginning of March. And I hope next year we'll be able to take you there and celebrate this with you and drink a lot of pisco with you. So let me show you this one. So, and here we have how the Vendimia starts in the beginning of March. It is a big festivity when, of course, which is popular for Peruvians especially. It is not very popular internationally, but I'm sure you would love to be there with me. People actually are invited to step over the grapes and dance and extract the juice of the grape as our African ancestors used to do. Also, we have competitions of who extracts the most of the juice from the grapes. We have invited the queen of the carnival, like in this case you can see the queen of the carnival that is chosen in February. Her first duty is to come to step dance over the grapes in March. It's her first duty. So this festival, as a festival, started in the year 1958. And it formalized as a festival of Ica back then, because there was a fear of losing the tradition, because now the industrialization of the production of the pisco and the wine also was destroying the little businesses that existed back then in that region. And thanks to that festival, nowadays we continue having these places where we can even see nowadays how the wine was produced artisanally. So, and this is how the vendimia, this festivity, starts, the vendimia party, the Grape Festival. But there is another one I want to show you here. I have in total 5 videos. There are just 2 left. So let me show you this one here, which is about the moment when the princess or the queen of the festivity is invited to dance, and how the religiosity, the Catholic faith, is mixed with the tradition of extracting the juice of the grape. So now let's turn the camera over here. So I remember the question of Sam about if they are Christians, if they are Catholics, the Afro-descendants. And the answer is, of course, yes. And this is because the Spanish conquest was very efficient in this territory. The African people also were exposed to all kinds of mistreatments, all kinds of brainwashing when they came here, and possibly the mix of the fear, the pressure also made them started to embrace the Catholic faith. But they mixed this faith with their own traditions, their African traditions too. The only problem is that most of them, they were not able to bring any type of like scripture form from Africa. So eventually the traditions mix with the ones that they could find here in Peru. So here, for example, we have the use of the Holy Cross of Jesus as a way to bless the production of the wine, of the juice of the grapes, basically. So this is also part of the traditions of the vendimia every year. So everybody that participates comes with big faith, believing, of course, that God will be the one that produces with them the best quality of wine and will help them to sell the best, let's say, the best they can on that year, right? So, and finally, there is one last video I want to share with you, and it is not about the dances, the vendimia, let's say in particular, but it's about the food people eat in this period, in this time of the year when we have the Black Carnival. So the food, it's actually very, very diverse. We have lots of different dishes that are connected with the Afro-Peruvians. I've been able to mention in some occasions some of the most famous dishes, but I've never been able to show this one here in particular. So I would like first to show you the image of this delicious dish, which is the sopa seca chinchana. So the sopa seca chinchana, as well as most of the Afro-Peruvian dishes, were born in the galpones, in the humble shacks where hundreds of slaves sometimes were put together to coexist. People that were not from the same ethnic groups, although they were Africans, they were not the same. They did not speak the same languages. They had different traditions. So the only thing they had in common was possibly their wish to survive, right? And to try to give the best they could to their children, to the ones they love. No? So food is a very important part of this. And well, the sopa seca chinchana is indeed one of the best examples of this tradition. So the sopa seca chinchana consists in pasta, like mixed with a sauce, a green sauce that has different herbs, but we can recognize, for example, the cilantro. Cilantro is very, very important, and meat, and also another addition, which is this one, and this one here, this is a sort of like sauce that you've seen here. Oh, Nicholas is asking Chinese influence. Sorry. Oh, did I say Chinese? I'm so sorry. I didn't try to say Chinese. I'm just saying that. Oh, maybe for the pasta, do you mean? Not really, my friend. In Peru, we receive lots of different influences, and not necessarily only Chinese, but you know that we had Chinese influence too. But possibly this pasta, these noodles here, were something the Spaniards copied from their masters, the landowners that eventually were able to give them this product, and they used this product in their gastronomy. And also we have here this sauce in this section, this sauce that you see over here. It is made from papa seca or dried potato, and it has also paprika, it has chicken. It's really delicious. So this is the combination that we call the sopa seca. So it is really, really fantastic. It tastes delicious, and this is a classic one during these festivities. So, well, I hope now you are hungry. If I made you hungry, it means that my work is accomplished. And in this occasion, well, today we were able to learn from my home about the vendimia, which is one of the most famous festivities we have in this season in Peru. The vendimia is connected, of course, with the production of the wine and the pisco, but nowadays has become a cultural expression of the Afro-Peruvian tradition in Peru. Thank you so much for your participation. Don't forget to follow the tours of my friends Sayuri. Sayuri is going to be doing a tour very, very soon. In, I think, about 20 minutes, she's going to start from the streets of Bahia, Salvador de Bahia. She's going to be showing you a little bit more about the carnivals from the street. Gracias, Sheila. Thanks to you. You can see that all my here my beautiful bandana is going backwards. So and also don't forget to follow Renan is going to have also at 2 p.m. my time, GMT -5, another let's say tour focus in the Carnival of Oruro, which they don't stop. Actually, the carnival continues on and on and on. So he is trying to picture the best he can for you and take you to this very, very nice festival. These are very complicated times in the world, and what we are just trying to do is cheer up the spirit and hope that peace will come to Ukraine very soon. So in the meantime, we just want to share a message of peace and hope. Thank you so much, my friends, for your participation today, and hope to see you very soon. I'm having some tours that I'm posting for the next weeks. So best to you. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye. Take care. Ciao. Thank you, thank you. Gracias. Thank you, Marlene. Thank you, Caitlin. Muchas gracias. Bye, Nicolas. Have a lovely, lovely weekend. Ciao, ciao.